Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, The Life Craft, where we talk about growth, success, and happiness. This podcast is designed to aid in achieving the inner fulfillment that we all aspire to. This is in conjunction with your goals, your vision, and how to really achieve your dreams, combining with your meaning and fulfillment. Today's subject is focused on making work meaningful and fulfilling. Now, for this particular session, it's my great honor to introduce Dr. Pooja V. Anand. She is an associate professor at the Department of Psychology, Daulat Ram College, University of Delhi, India. She has been teaching psychology for more than 17 years at the undergraduate level. She is the gold medalist in the MA in psychology. She is an honorary senior fellow at Melbourne Graduate School of Education, University of Melbourne, Australia. I can keep talking and sharing about what she has achieved, accomplished, and what great work she has been doing to promote positive psychology, help the students inculcate the mindset which can propel in every situation and to the best of their life and world. But we'll hear more about as we talk and continue further in our conversation. But before that, let me welcome Pooja, and it's a great honor and thank you so much being part of this segment. How are you today?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I am great, and I hope all of you who are listening to us are feeling great too.
Awesome. So, Pooja, I know I've been following you, and I know you have been doing great things in world of positive psychology. You have been one of the pioneers, which I would consider, who have done the founding work in India by establishing the institute that can help our students and world at large. So, in your words, can you please share your journey so far and how have you accomplished and marched ahead to the highest rank, especially in India, where positive psychology at that particular time, I don't believe was in the mainstream. So, if you can share a few and help our audience to really appreciate your work in positive psychology.
Absolutely, that's a beautiful question. And it brings back a lot of memories right from the time, I would say, 2004, when I enrolled for my PhD. And I started working on emotional intelligence. And of course, when you do your PhD, you read a lot of articles, a lot of books. And then I got to know that emotional intelligence is something which is part of a bigger movement or an approach of positive psychology. So that's how I got into the field. And 2015, I was in one of the committees for syllabus formulation for universities for the CBCS curriculum. And then I thought I have this opportunity to bring in something which is extremely important, but it is still not there in the curriculum. I gave my inputs regarding emotional intelligence, regarding positive psychology, and that's how it came into the curriculum way back in 2015. And then I started teaching it. And when I started teaching emotional intelligence and then later positive psychology, the kind of response that I started to get from the student, ma'am, why are we studying this now? Why not at school?
Mm.
And then when I started doing workshops, everything, in fact, in 2017, I wrote my book on emotional intelligence. And then 2018, I opened the first positive psychology center in India, which I have now renamed as the Center for Wellbeing and Flourishing. So
Very
through
nice.
that, I have been doing a lot of work in terms of training teach through faculty development programs, training the students through skill development programs, all of which center around positive psychology, doing workshops. I've also created a program which is called Positive Conversations, in which
Mm.
I invite students to talk about their stories of hope, optimism, all these things, resilience. And that's how, so that has been the journey, and it is still going on. And I would like to say that this has been teaching these papers and talking about emotional intelligence, positive psychology has been one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. And it is still continuing. I'm so grateful.
No, I think it's amazing. And I'm sure as you are sharing, I'm sure your students must be really to be your student and
Mm.
opportunity to learn, especially some of the aspects as you talked about well-being and flourishing, where hope, optimism, resilience, and I'm sure you must be talking about some of the aspect of self-efficacy. I think
Absolutely.
all of this part of the different aspect we to inculcate inside your system, it becomes so essential. And unless you don't, what you are talking about, and as you're talking the workshop and sharing your research and from papers were written, and of course your book, I believe that as you understand this aspect, or whatever is your main goals, whatever you are trying to achieve, that becomes more aligned to your work or to whatever you are trying to do at that particular time.
Absolutely.
From my background or my experience perspective, it what I have experienced that once you have these particular aspects in your regular routine life, your work doesn't seem like just a work. It doesn't seem like you are just doing for the sake of doing. And that is the biggest difference that when I talk about that, it reflects me back to the flow. Now, by talking, just by reading, you don't just get that how you achieve that flow, right? You have to cultivate it. And I'm sure you are able to impart that message, those constructs, those skills, right? It's after all skills. No matter how much you study, how much you intellectually you grow, but these skills are so unique to a person, and he can then expand it to the whatever faculties they have to build upon, and it becomes a great success point and differentiate himself
Absolutely.
in your real world.
I agree with you because I always say to all the people who are into positive psychology that it is one thing to just teach positive psychology, one thing to just talk about it, and it's another level to live it. So you first
Hmm.
have to live it, and only then you can go into a classroom and talk to students, and they are going to connect with you at that level. So that has to be done. Absolutely.
I think you said it well. You have to live it, and I think, and I'm now talking about that point. We definitely discuss about flourishing, well-being, and living. There's some of the mindset what we talked about to truly make a difference as you progress at in your work and in your personal life. Now, I think the most important part which I wanted to bring up as we talk is meaning, right? We have gone through, at least from our academics perspective, and some of the areas where how you really get fulfillment in at your work. What I have understood is when you find a meaning. Now, meaning in your life is one thing. Okay, what is your purpose in your life? Why you are here? What do you want to achieve? And that is a one part of it. But after all, we spend most of our time, and as we know, 8 to 10 hours, and maybe some of the people must be working 14 to 12 to 14 hours based on how their work is aligned. Finding meaning in your work, I think it is a paramount. And if you can achieve that, no matter what you are doing, I think that can really change, because once you achieve that, the rest of the part of being doing something at your work in your social life automatically reflects and transform into a beautiful way of being. So if you can share how you are able to share this thing with your students, because after all, once they get ripe, I would say they are going to be the first person interfacing in their work. And if you're, I'm sure you must be connecting with them, how they are able to achieve that meaningful part of your in their life, in their work. And have you got a chance to then connect with them, that taking all of these skills, how they are able to find the meaning and be at your best, not from the perspective of doing things, but I would say being in the field and achieving the highest level of satisfaction. If you can share
Okay.
more on that part.
All right. See, I have been talking about work a lot, of course, as part of my experiences. But in the classroom, I used to teach organizational behavior and HRM earlier. So my opening line would be that tell me, where do you spend, or where does an average adult spend most of their time? And everyone say at the workplace. So I would tell them that if you're not able to, just imagine your parents or your brother, whoever is at the workplace, where do they spend most of their time? They said the workplace. And of course, even if it is a very short duration that you're spending at the workplace, if you're not at the workplace, you're thinking about it, or you are making some data about it. So, in a way, the most important segment of your day goes into your work. Now, I also quote something which is very correlation between job satisfaction and life satisfaction,
Very
which
nice.
is point four. That means which is a very significant correlation. Now, I tell my students that imagine that if you're happy at the workplace, how happy you are going to be in your life, right? But the
Hmm.
reverse is if you are miserable at the workplace, how miserable your life or a certain segment of your life is going to be. So that's how I start talking about work. And that's how it becomes really important. The centrality of work in our life. We are spending so much of time. And therefore, if you talk to people generally, who do not connect with their work,
Hmm.
they will often report burnout. They will
Yes.
often report meaninglessness. Oh, I'm just there for the salary, right? So if we have that kind of an attitude, that is not going to take us anywhere. And that's what I tell my students, that if you really want to pursue a career, you should go into something that you're really interested in, you're really passionate about. Okay, so that is one. But at the same time, not everyone gets a choice to be at the workplace that they want to be. And
Correct.
that's where I think positive psychology will play a huge role. Now,
Hmm.
first of all, let's understand what is positive psychology. Very briefly, a lot of the people misunderstand positive psychology. Okay, they just feel that it's, just being happy all the time and smiling all the time. So that is one myth that I break in my classes. I tell the students, no, it is so much more. We're talking
Hmm.
about your character strengths, we're talking about your well-being, we're talking about your meaning in life. These all these things. Now, how do you apply these concepts of hope, of optimism, of meaning, resilience, gratitude, the workplace? Okay,
Yes.
so the approach is the same, but how do you apply it to the workplace becomes very important. So, of course, let's say that one is at a place where not by their own choice, right?
Hmm.
So, there comes the idea of creating meaning, creating
Hmm.
purpose. So, how do you start to like something that you've suddenly, gotten into? And that is something important, right? So, creating a sense of purpose, nobody is going to come and give you purpose or meaning. It's the same thing
Yes.
that happens in your life. Nobody is going to walk through that door and give you meaning and give you purpose. No, it is something that you have to create, it is something that you have to build by yourself. So, that's one. Another very interesting concept is job crafting, which is
Yes.
that the same job of teaching, the same curriculum, the same number of classes can be dealt by a teacher in one way, which is very boring, which is very monotonous. But
Very nice.
another teacher can approach the same thing in a different way. She can introduce a lot of practical aspects. She can introduce a lot of very interesting assignments, some educational tours, or movie analysis, different things. So, this is how we can craft our work. Of course, we can't change it, but we can, here and there, we can craft our work to make it more meaningful. The thing is the people that we are working with. right? So we do not work in isolation. We are, for example, if you're talking about the teaching professions, of course, I have my students, I have my co-workers, I have my administrative staff, I have my non-teaching staff. So many hundreds and thousands of people, I would say, that we walk by or we interact with on a daily basis. So again, the same theory applies that if you do not have fulfilling relationships at the workplace, so it's not going to be a very meaningful an experience. Next, I would say is how to make your work more meaningful would be applying your character strengths. So we know that there are different kinds of character strengths. We need to identify and we need to apply them on a daily basis, right? Whether we are high on love of learning, curiosity, gratitude. So we need to work on that, or spirituality, let's say. And
Yes.
then last would be doing something for other people. And that's what purpose is all about. Okay,
Yes.
purpose being a part of meaning, that's what it's all about. Yes, we have to live for ourselves, but your work life really gets a meaning when you add other people, the importance of other people, and what you're doing.
For
So
them.
the service is very important. So basically, these are some of the points, but there are many theories also. I have also developed a model for meaning in life. Of course, I mean, the conversation, maybe I'll be talking
Of
about
course.
that as well.
I think brought some of the beautiful concepts, and I think it's really innovative way of putting all of those things into inculcate those thoughts in students as they approach the work, as they get into the real world. But I truly like the concept of creating your purpose, because up till now, frankly speaking, I believe is discovering the purpose. I've always found that find your passion, discover your purpose. But I think what you say is really something that struck me right now, that creating your purpose, creating something what you truly uh, positive about. So what I can understand, which I believe all of our listeners probably would have this particular inkling to apply it as well. What you can do different, meaning, as you said, there are so many people you are interacting with. Everybody has some job to do at your work based on your responsibilities. What you can create it more interesting, what innovation you can do. Everybody, it's all about everybody has some creativity in their inside them, and you can either say I'm creative or you can say I'm not creative. It's all up to what you tell yourself. But as long as you want to, you do what you can create interesting in your work, how you can apply it and make other person whom you are working it better in terms of your productivity, how you can help your team. So if you put those pieces in picture, I think you can create that environment where you automatically find your meaning. Then you can create, again, I want to say, you can create a meaning. I would like to change my own vocabulary, because finding the meaning is, again, you are then searching. Then you will
Yes,
always find something which you have pre-constructed notion that because you have heard everything. Oh, that person has living in a great, has working great, because it's a hearsay. Unless you find something or create something again,
yes,
that is something unique, and I believe it can change any place you work. And then you can, and I would say that would be the entry point, and everything can change as it progresses, because then you are creating that environment, that system, that connections with your people, and then everything will reflect back. So I truly appreciate those different aspects you talked about to carry it at your workplace. So thank you for sharing that particular point. Now, related to that particular piece, you also mentioned being happier, right? How to become happier at your work. Now, I totally get that once you find a meaning, once you create your purpose, automatically you will find those elements that makes you feel happy. Maybe it is your connections, what you build with people. Maybe whatever you have that, again, I always consider meaningful relationship, but that you create it. You don't try to find it, but right. So the happiness, I think, will come as part of this process, as you apply it, I'd like your point again to apply it and not just try to see why it is not happening. You try to apply these aspects in your work, but then becoming happy, right? What I would like to understand from your positive psychology background and some of the research papers you have written, some of the conferences and workshop you do, meaning and happiness, how they are connected and how positive psychology helps to being happy at work. Because I know one thing, that unless you don't find that satisfaction, you don't be happy, you are not happy. Creating a meaning, I understand that helps you to find satisfaction, but how you can find that happiness as you find your meaning, as you create a meaning, if you can share what elements would work in conjunction with meaning, that would be wonderful.
Okay, that's a great question because you will see that a lot of the people, they get confused about happiness when you talk about meaning. Because see, again, you have to understand that there are two terms. One is happiness and one is well-being, right? And
Hmm.
you will see that when the work on happiness started, right? And if you ask anyone, a lay person about happiness, right? So if you ask them what gives you happiness, so they will say a lot of things, including maybe just watching the rain or having cold coffee. That also gives you happiness, right? But tell me that having cold coffee or having ice cream, does it give you long-lasting happiness?
I was just going to mention that.
Right?
Yes.
So we need to understand the difference between happiness and well-being. Of course, they are related to each other, and that's how the trajectory of positive psychology has been. That and that was the criticism also, that everyone thought that we were just talking about how to be happy,
Hmm.
right? But
Yes.
in a sense, when you're talking about happiness as pleasure,
Hmm.
right? So there's a disadvantage to it, that when you're only looking at happiness as pleasure, something which gives one person pleasure could cause harm to another person, right? So we need to
Correct.
bring in all the concepts, right? So that is not a good enough of an explanation, and therefore something more had to be brought into. That means it is not just your subjective feeling of happiness, it is also about other people. Okay.
Hmm.
And it is also about that long lasting kind of happiness that you have, in which the idea of meaning becomes very important. So,
Got it.
yes, having an ice cream gives you happiness, yes, as pleasure, but not meaning. Does it give meaning to your life? I don't think so. That's the
Absolutely.
difference. So, when you bring in this idea, and that's how you look at the model of karma. In fact, my
Hmm.
model also talks about meaning. So now, everything about happiness and well-being that we now know, or till now, it was more like the first wave positive psychology. But now, if you look at the second wave positive psychology, their resilience has become very important, their meaning has become very important. So I don't think there should be any confusion now in terms of, happiness and well-being, because in well-being, you're also thinking about other people, and you're also thinking about adding something very important to your life in terms of meaning in your life. So that's the clear cut difference between the two, even though they are connected to each
I think that tells me that they are different but complementary. So unless you don't find meaning to what you are doing, you won't find happiness. And if you don't find meaning, and if you're again same thing, you eat ice cream, you do something because it is giving you some additional money, then you will be, just because you got a money, that's about it. You will spend it and you are over with. But if you have found the meaning, then that juice, right? We talk about it. You can continue that under that feeling. It helps you to sustain that happiness through in and as a continuum, and that is where I think meaning and happiness merge. And we generally, I think, up to for certain period of time, don't use it, don't haven't done it in at work. And I think that is a burnout, quiet quitting, all of this started. And I believe that is where, and consciously, right, that
other.
you
Yes.
are making a difference in your work, difference to other people, difference to your organization, and then it continues, difference into community. I think this is wonderful. What you have shared first, which now I would like to summarize as we come to the close of that. First and foremost is create your meaning. Whatever work you are doing, see how meaningful it is to the organization, to the people you are working for, maybe your boss, and of course that's a part one. Then create the purpose that yes, what are you gaining from it? What are you sharing? What are you bringing to this world? Eventually, that is what your purpose is. That is what you are trying to be, and that is what you can create using your creativity, right? And finally, the happiness that whatever you are trying to create is making a difference to your organization. And that is something already makes that automatically puts that happiness seed inside you. And I'm sure it is
True.
going to grow. That 1 second. Hi, Pooja. I think you are fantastic sharing of what, how meaning can be applied to become happy at work, and how to create meaning which can bring a consistent joy as you are serving for your at your work and making difference at your workplace. So as a parting thoughts, what would you like to share that how we can make sure that as you continue working, create the meaning, you can bring the happiness back at home while being happy at work. So if you can share what is that a key to create meaning in life and becoming happy perennially as you proceed in your career.
All right. So recently, I conducted a workshop for the non-teaching staff of our college. And I was just thinking of how to explain to them the importance of meaning in our life. And I just gave a very simple example that even a small child, when they look at the sky, when they look at the cloud, they try to see shape in that cloud. Okay, they would say it's a horse, it's a camel, okay, something, right? And that shows that something which is very ambiguous, even then, we human beings, we have a tendency to find meaning, to see something in it, right? So that shows the importance. And therefore, when we're talking about meaning in life, like I said, it's central. It's like the backbone, right, for everything. So we will see that often in our life, why do we feel that sense of hopelessness, meaninglessness, is because we are often trying to, particularly for the workplace, we are often trying to talk about the what. What are we doing and how are we doing?
Correct.
Right. So
Correct.
what am I doing? I'm teaching undergraduate students. How am I teaching? I'm just referring to the curriculum, I'm looking at the books. But the third most important element, which a lot of the people and organizations are missing, is the why.
Why? You say
Why are you doing what you're doing? And that's the most important idea. That's the idea of meaning and purpose. And if you have meaning and purpose in your life, at your work, I'm sure you are going to have a meaningful, a very wholesome, a very fulfilling kind of life. So that is something that I would like to, conclude my uh, thoughts with, or my talk with, is that this is how central it is. I mean, without that, it is just, we are on autopilot. I mean, we are not even focusing on what we are doing. So that's how I
I
feel.
think this is fantastic, and what you said is truly the key ingredient, I must say. And as I am trying to digest myself, I have a feeling that we we've been talking about that we should start the day with smile, we should start the day with gratitude, we should start the day with some happy note. But I feel that when you start your work, I think what you should start with it, that why I'm here to do this particular work, how I can improve and apply my creativity to make it better, what I can do to see how it can help others in my team, to my boss, to my organization. And finally, I think if I have grabbed what you have shared, some golden nuggets to bring meaning in life, I can say where I can make the impact by my work. And I think if we can every day before you start at your desk or as you start a computer, if you have this construct ready, I'm sure each and every person would be able to create meaning on a daily basis. Be happy your 8 to 10 hours for what work you are doing and bring that thing back home. And it can be a beautiful journey as you continue your life and your work, especially. I think this is really good. I feel really happy that I got a chance to talk with you, bring these beautiful thoughts, beautiful construct to the audiences, and I'm sure they will be benefited. Thank you so much, Pooja, for your time, and I truly appreciate your so humble nature to be out here on a Sunday evening, especially for India. So thank you again. I'm hoping that we can again connect to bring some more ideas and thoughts around happiness and making the work and life wholesome using probably emotional intelligence because that is your core. So we'll probably meet again as well. So thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me. It was a great pleasure, talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think you must have got some wonderful ideas and thoughts to bring meaning, create meaning in your work. Please share anything what you feel that you can apply or any questions. If you cannot reach Pooja, which I'm sure I'll provide those details as part of my podcast, you can write to me as you hear this podcast. But please stay in touch. And Dr. Pooja, if you want to share your email ID, that would be great. If somebody would like to reach out to you, if that is okay.
All right. So my email ID is poojavanand1 at gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Pooja. Again, very
Thank
grateful
you
for
so
the time, and thank you, audience, for listening. We'll meet you again. Till then, have a fulfilling life, happy life, and
Meaningful
meaningful
life.
life. Thank you.